Hello everyone, welcome to another Vainglory build tips video series. Today we have a video with a build for Reim, which is a crystal mage. You see the draft is already underway, so we got on the B side. I was actually the last person on the B side. The A side banned Baron, which is a silly ban because Baron is not that good anymore. We banned Catherine, which is a very smart ban because Catherine is way too OP right now. They picked up Idris, which is pretty good in the meta currently, and we got Grace and Gwen to counter it or start our build. Those are pretty good picks, so we had a good base. I was aiming for Scarf actually, but both of my teammates were against Scarf by some reason. I guess they thought we were doing too much of a poke composition, so Scarf would not be good. They ended up picking Black Feather, and I was very in doubt what to pick. I was actually still going for a Scarf at this point, but they suggested Reim, and I'm like, okay, I'm good with Reim, I can do Reim. You have to be aggressive with Reim and just farm a lot. Make sure you level up fast enough so you can contest them. They actually wanted to swap with me, but I refused because I'm pretty good Reim. I was very confident with my Reim, so I decided, fuck that shit, I'm not gonna give my Reim away. I'm good on Reim, let's stick with what I'm good at. So this was our final comp. Lance, Idris, and Black Feather against Reim, Gwen, and Grace. So pretty standard game. So starting off with Reim, you should always go towards Eve of Harvest, because you need a lot of energy with Reim, and you also want to be doing some good damage. You can try some steals with Reim early on. It's not very easy. If you get ganked, you're screwed, so you need to make sure that you have some teammates to help you out. And as long as they don't focus completely just on you, you're usually okay. So this early on, we just tried to steal some farm since they made that mistake of going towards us. Try to get a gank. Lance had already respawned, so he was very on top of us, but we got 3 early kills, so we were pretty good. I was convincing them to come towards the middle tree end. I don't know what the hell they were doing. I think they were trying to steal some more farm, but they didn't hear my pings. So this tree end ended up being a bust. I was still hoping at this point that they would come get it, but they didn't. I was close to being dead, so I had to retreat back to home. Got early boots and kept working on the Eve of Harvest. That's what you should do with a Reim build. First item, Eve of Harvest. Second item, usually Broken Myth. And then some people do some alternate builds. Some people like to go for the Alternating Current because they want to be in the middle of the fight and dish out some crystal power when they engage physically with the enemy. Technically speaking, with Reim, if you don't manage to cast his second ability on your opponent, they usually run away from you. So either you get good boots or you need to, go very fast towards them and root them on place. So that's something you should always be aware of with Reim. I was just farming at this point, nothing very interesting going on. You're checking out the names of the abilities. Actually, it's the A ability is called Winter Spire, and the B ability is called Chill Winds by some reason. The third ability is Valkyrie, and Valkyrie really, well, it's a good initiator for team fights. It's also good middle fight item to use, so it depends a lot. It's very situational. Some people also use the slowdown, what's it called, Frostburn. Some people also use Frostburn a lot on Reim because they want to keep the enemy close next to you. I personally don't like Frostburn that much. I'd rather go for either Shatter Glass or build the more defensive items, both shield and armor. If you have both of those up, even if you don't really engage, you can sustain that other hit, and then at some point you will be able to re-engage, but always prioritize the boots. That's what I always try to do. Usually the Alcyon Chargers, because you need extra energy. I also see some people using the chronogram to go for the clockwork, or yeah, for clockwork. It can work, but I'm not really into it that much. I mean, the clockwork, what it does is that it gives you extra cooldown speed, extra energy, and extra energy recharge. So if you don't get the Alcyon Chargers, you might want the clockwork. I mean, if you only have level 2 boots, you could use the clockwork. It's relatively cheap to build, so that's why some people do it. Or maybe you can build it early on if you're struggling in the game, so just to have that little energy on your side, and then later on in the game you can sell it and get Halcyon boots instead. Maybe just a situational thing. On this particular game, I noticed that the enemy team was building mostly weapon. So I even suggested to my teammates at some point to build weapon defense. It's mostly Idris though. Black Feather was building weapon, but he was actually on his way to using doing the alternating current. So he was actually doing a crystal build, but it looked like weapon at some point. And of course Lance is almost purely weapon, so you can do, if you have some good defense, you will take away some of those impale damages that Lance always dishes out. So that was the plan. They were putting some pressure on the lane. I was trying to help them out as much as I could, without neglecting my farm that much. I caught this Black Feather out of hand, but he had support of Lance, so I decided to just let him go. Probably should have pressed, but well. You know, early on Reim, you should always go for farm. I mean, until you're level 12, until you have both Broken Myth and Eve of Harvest, you should just farm. And even if you have those two, you can just build up on defensive items. See, this was the point where I noticed that they were mostly building weapon, so I pinged my teammates. I also decided at this point that I would build an Atlas Pauldron, so that I would have, because I will always engage into the middle of the fray, even 3 enemies at a time. I would always run into it, apply my second skill, chill winds to root a few of them, and try to get as much out of it as I possibly could. Here I died, sadly enough. He got me with the chakras. I overextended a little bit. So yeah, my point is I will always run into the fray, so I will always probably use boots to get into the fray, use chill winds to root some of them, and also at the same time apply the Atlas Pauldron. So I would be always the initiator. That's the job of Reim, you know, initiate, make sure you single out one of your opponents, because they want to disengage from you. And the moment they disengage from you, Gwen would step up and clean up the guy that was left behind or on her side. Our main problem right now is that they were always keeping pressure on the lane. I had a lot of doubts if I should be helping on the lane or just stealing farm away, but they were putting so much pressure I decided I really should. And these are the kind of fights that if you lose, your whole team loses and you end up with an ace, or your opponents end up with an ace, and you will lose a turret for sure. So very dodgy. If you should engage full-heartedly or not, you should always be careful at this point. I saw a good opportunity here to get the turret. My teammates overextended, but we still got the turret. And as soon as I noticed that they were both dead, I just decided to bail. But the turret is okay for 2 kills. I mean, it gives us an extra vision to the enemy jungle, or an easier rotation down from the enemy jungle, allows us to put more pressure on. At this point I had to defend our turret. There was Idris there. He was lucky that I didn't have my B unit straight away, so he managed to get away using his A ability. I give up the turret and just go for farm. Build some more stuff. Almost have my broken myth at this point. Some people sell that initial fountain thing that we have now. I don't know the name of it. I never know the name of things. What's it called? I don't know. Ealing flask. Yeah, the Ealing flask. Some people sell the Ealing flask to have more space for extra crystal bits, which can be useful early on in the game, but I decided not to by, I don't know, random reasons. So you see, I was taking a lot of damage, still managed to sustain like hell, because, you know, the moment you have both Broken Myths and Eve of Harvests on Reim, you just dish out a lot of damage. Either they blast you straight away, or there's no chance they can out-sustain you. They were lucky there, none of them got rooted by my B ability. I realized I was overextending a little bit, and Gwen was also overextending a little bit, so we had to support her, but we did the unengage, or disengage rather. They were keep forcing it. I don't know why they were forcing it so much. I think that was a mistake on their end. Like, they're 3 against 2, but they keep pushing it. I decided to just back off and farm and hope they don't die. I managed to have enough for my Broken Myth, which is essential. I mean, you want sustain, so Broken Myth is essential. I mean, if you're in the fight more than 3-4 seconds, you have so many Broken Myth stacks that you just do a lot of damage. So they were hunting for the kill, but Blackfeather backed off, so I decided to go for the middle gold miner. They were telling me not to, but I decided nope. They're busy in the lane. The other guy just ran away. Even if someone comes, we should be able to either get it or kill him. We ended up getting it, which was quite good. I told them, don't pursue it, just stick with your payout. We're not ready for that. They go cover up the turret, which we'll probably lose. Our enemy team was putting a lot of pressure on the turret. And Gwen is okay, she has good range, but 2 people against Gwen, it's very easy to gank her. Even with the skedaddle, you should always be careful with the Gwen. Here is another one of those plays where I would rush in and try to root someone. In this case, the only one I ended up rooting was Lance. Lancing was doing a pretty good job. He was always deflecting me when I would do that initial rush, which is what he would really like to do. Grace was putting some extra pressure, so I step in, replace Grace. Unfortunately, she dies here. But we can still take this match. I have so much sustain that as long as they don't gank Gwen, we would be good. Unfortunately, she oversteps, so it was left 2 versus 1. Still, I would have enough sustain to kill them, so I ended up sticking with it. Blackfeather can jump around a lot, so you need to be a bit careful, especially when you're low in energy, like I was at this point. Blackfeather can go out of your B ability. Using his C ability, he can step out of the Chill Wind's route, which can be very dangerous. I mean, if you apply the route to make sure that you can hit Winter Spire, or the 2 instances of Winter Spire, and you ended up failing them, then you won't have that buff of defense, and he can just lay it out on you. So that's very important that you manage to always hit something of crystal power to have that little bit extra defense. And at this point, Blackfeather was crystal powered, and I had no crystal defense whatsoever. so I really need to do those hits. The good point is that if you're in Reim and you're engaging a person battle, if you're engaging the whole enemy team, like I was meaning to do, you always hit someone, so there's always someone keeping you the sustain. Fortunately, our lane was a bit dodgy. They kept overextending, they ended up losing. Here, Blackfeather runs into my trap, or he runs into me, and he ends up getting away very luckily. Actually, this was an interesting fight, if I remember correctly. We try to overextend, Lance puts me back into place, so I'm in a bit of a trouble here. Grace steps up to try to help. She misses the Nova. I was keep getting those on points by Blackfeather, which is bad. Fortunately, Grace healed me up, so I managed to sustain a little bit more until Gwen finally showed up. Unfortunately, she just died from Idris, but we still managed to kill them just through the stupid, ridiculous amount of sustain that I had. So if I didn't have Eve of Harvest there, I would have died immediately. So that was a very close fight that could have really changed the result of the game from their side. They were pinging for the middle gold miner, but at this point he didn't have that much money, so I thought the crystal miner would be a better idea, which we did get. And we just stole some of their farm away, and the Kraken just woke up. So I decided to tell Gwen to be careful, stop killing herself. Let's do the team fight that secures Kraken. Got my Alcyon chargers, I got extra little bit of crystal power, and I even got an infusion ready, so we're totally ready for team fight, at least on my end. I pinged them for it, and I decided to just bait them. I think my teammates didn't realize that I was just baiting. They were telling me, no, don't go for it. But no, I'm really baiting them to come to a team fight. And I bait properly. All three of them come. I apply B, I apply Atlas Pauldron. They have no chance whatsoever. All three of them go. Very clean fight, completely win. So that pretty much secured the fight at this point. But you notice that they were doing pretty good damage. I mean, they took a half chunk of Reim's health before we engaged. So yeah. But yeah, after we got Kraken, I mean, we just had to push. They could still defend it at this point. This wasn't a one game. They would need to overstep, do some mistakes. Decided to hang back a little bit, try to root, but they were doing the rolls. The roll also escapes the root. Grace overextended a little bit there, so I had to jump in, use the Atlas Pauldron, do some damage, and then go back out to avoid the sentry. Unfortunately, they overextended, so I managed to get those two, and that was pretty much game at that point. So yeah, slight mistake on their side. They overextended a little bit there, which they had no reason to do so. I mean, the Kraken was within reach. They had no reason to overextend. They really just tried to poke us a little bit more, which was a terrible mistake because both Gwen and Reim have a decent enough range to go on top of you if you do those kind of mistakes. So yeah, that was game. Pretty good game, easy, standard Reim play, no real counter that they had. I mean, Blackfeather is kind of a good counter, but it's a skill match, and early on they were a bit behind. You can see the final builds here. Blackfeather had 2 crystal power, Idris had 3 or 2 items, he was still building on his third. So those losses early on really set them back a little bit, and I think that's the main reason why the game was so easy for our side. So yeah, that's it for this game showing Reim's build. Hope it was useful. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask on the chat below. And yeah, bye bye, take care.